Hi folks, it's Wendy on Wednesday, and I just thought I would go back a little and touch on some things that have been happening with our smart oil, the Finessium smart oil. Some of you may or may not know that Finessium also has its own business. It's a holistic health practice as well, where I do a lot of work with functional nutrition, tissue salts, testing for deficiencies, allergies, pain, inflammation, all sorts of different things. That's under Finessium Health. Facebook, we do a lot of science-based stuff on that side. Also certified kinesiologist and biochemic practitioner. So the Finessium Smart Oil has a lot to play with that. It wasn't just some sort of random, let's grab some things, throw them in a bottle, stick a label on it, which I tend to think that a lot of companies do these days, which is sad because at the expense of our pets' health, we always want to do the best that we can for them. So it's important to me to try and do more homework, more research, more testing, whether that be on me or my own pets. And one of the reasons as well that we have an older horse down back as well, he's been a little bit of a guinea pig. And actually I'm going to post a before and after of his nether regions in the comments after this video, and just to show you the difference of what happened when I used the smart oil on him. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to happen overnight, and then certainly with him it didn't, but I also had confirmation just last week. Actually, I should have brought his tooth up to show you. He had a tooth extracted, bless him. He's got hardly any grinding surface left on his teeth, so he has to basically eat soup. I feed him 5 times a day, huge buckets. But pre-dental work being done the other day, he had to have all of his vitals checked, obviously, and his heart, breathing rate, and temperature, and his lungs. Now, whenever I got him Buddy Murphy in July of 2018, so it's just coming up to 2 years now, I had been told he had been diagnosed as having heaves. So whenever, heaves actually, if you don't know what that is for horses, it's like COPD for horses. So it meant as well he had trouble breathing, especially when it got hot and humid, so the summers were kind of a toil for him. One of the first things I changed in his protocol was not putting him inside. Because putting a heavy horse inside a dusty barn, not a good idea. But a lot of people will do that, not thinking rationally or in just a common sense, but basically going off other people. Oh, you got to stable that horse. Oh, you got to do this. Oh, you got to do that. Now you look at the natural environment that an animal is raised or lives in, and you try to emulate that as much as possible, even though it's completely different whenever they're domesticated or in your backyard. But that helped. But whenever we used to do the pet relief, as you well know us for as well, then that helped a lot. And he was on that the first time he got his teeth looked at, which would have been the following September 2018. And he did have slightly rattly lungs. One was worse than the other. But the vet said at that point that if the horse had previously been diagnosed with heaves, that whatever I was doing to keep doing it. Well, that was all fine and dandy until we couldn't get pet relief through anymore. We couldn't get it across the border thanks to the Cannabis Act and it encapsulating the Industrial Hemp Act under the whole illegal drug thing and everything else as well. So basically, we were stuck then without a product. Everybody kept saying, oh, look at this one, look at this one, look at this one. Everything else I checked was completely garbage, and I'm going to be right up front and say that any of you that know me know I speak the truth and know that I usually have evidence to back that up. Anybody who sent me information on different companies, then I would inquire about third-party lab testing, look at this, that and the other, even some who were like, oh yeah, we give this out. But then obviously they were giving that out to people who just knew to ask for it but didn't know how to read it, because then all you would see is heavy metals. And I'm like, what? Or extraction methods, everything else like that. So anyway, there was nothing as an alternative that I felt comfortable either giving my hard money away to try on my animals, and certainly in turn ask my clients to pay for. So nothing there. And with the whole new legislation, there is nothing legal be allowed on the market under the CBD for pets at this time. The vets are actually doing their own studies and waiting for other studies and stuff to be completed before they then find out how to designate that under their own veterinary headings. So that's where it's going to end up. Nothing has changed for the last 2 years. And with all of the stuff out there that you're getting from medical marijuana, the THC content is too high. I do not care when you say, oh, but this is a high CBD one. Yeah, you haven't looked at the THC content. It's still over 0.3% if it's medical marijuana, which is what's being used. So it's too high to risk for your pets. Ask any vet offices if they've ever had an animal in with static ataxia, which is basically the poisoning that they will get from taking your pot. Now, we all know that everybody is different and everybody is different. So everybody reacts in a different way. Some people will say, oh, my dog had pot for like 5 years and it was fine. Good for you and well done that you didn't kill it. For the rest of you that are trying stuff on a 3-pound chihuahua that's being used and being extracted with the cheapest methods possible, which is usually ethanol or paint thinners or alcohol, there's residuals in that, and you're actually going to cause kidney and liver damage that way too. So be warned, people. Be a little bit smarter rather than jumping on the CBD bandwagon that you all think that you have to have. Our testing and our proof and our so-called evidence, if you want, from excuse me, our clients are telling us that this is working. The fact that the pets are showing a difference is actually helping a lot. They're coming back for it again and again and again, and they wouldn't do that if it wasn't working. Now, an animal doesn't understand a placebo effect or anything that's psychosomatic, so they are not going to be able to lie and go, oh yeah, feeling great, yeah, this is wonderful, but I still feel crappy. Must be that stuff you're giving me, it's making me feel good. Animals don't do that. They don't work like that. They don't lie. So if you're still out there on your search for CBD, forget about it. All these companies that are now sticking things out there on the market that have different claims, different words, different labels so that they fly under the radar, you gotta ask this question: where are their ethics? If they're willing to label something which is literally the wrong thing, and we have actually had Health Canada test a product, we demanded that they tested a product which we knew had CBD in it, and they were saying, oh, it's a labeling issue. No, it's not. It was the first product they had ever asked to get tested, and they showed it had CBD in it. So the fact that people are so willing to dupe Health Canada, dupe anybody else, and the fact that the labeling can be this, that, or the other thing, then you've got to question what their ethics are. Is that stuff really safe? What else are they not putting on their label? What else are they not disclosing? And yeah, I will call them all out. But in the meantime, the smart oil, we had to come up with something because I couldn't get pet relief. There was nothing else I would touch with a 10-foot pole, and certainly not put my animals on just because it had something on a label or had fancy marketing or great, wonderful videos. And it wasn't going to happen. So the smart oil came to be where I basically went, okay, right, what is it the CBD has? There cannot just be one product on the planet or one substance on the planet that basically has these great attributes to it, and there's nothing else out there. Well, I know I've gone into this before, but basically the ingredients that are in the smart oil, the copaiba basically is an endocannabinoid to a point. It's a sesquiterpene, to be honest with you, but it works with the endocannabinoid system in a similar way that CBD does. Now, it's not going to be as potent, so we had a look at what else was very, very high antioxidant value, and it's a little bit passé, a little bit that's not as commonly used anymore because it's been done to death, and they actually stopped recording things this way since 2012, but it's the only reference that we have at the minute, and it's called the ORAC value, ORAC. and that actually stands for oxygen radical absorbance capacity. It's basically lots of foods contain ORAC values, and you know, certain people should have so much, but it basically is what helps the natural defenses of the body help fight off colds, flus, COVID, whatever. But it builds your immunities up and helps you to fight inflammation as well. It also helps to get rid of inflammation. So things with a high ORAC value, everybody loves their turmeric and their golden paste, and woohoo, it's wonderful. So how do we look around different things with different ORAC values and the different levels on the scales? Now we've got normal herbs and spices and things like that. Cloves are really high, oregano is high, cloves is the highest actually. Cocoa powder is actually surprisingly high, so it's like yay for dark chocolate. So yeah, you can always say it's medicinal when you're eating dark chocolate, and because peppermint's high on the on the ORAC scale as well. Give you an idea, it goes in different numbers. Turmeric, for example, to give you, is 159,277 units on the ORAC scale. Cranberries are 9,584. Jump to peppermint at 13,978, which is a little bit higher than cranberry, but just thinking our Fitzy's dark chocolate peppermint bar is purely medicinal, so I will be eating one of those later. However, we looked at the copaiba. Now it's basically too new, if you like, or wasn't in the general field of vision whenever they were doing the ORAC testing, so I can't find an ORAC value for it. But our own testing has told us that it is very, very strong, and the different research that we've done on that as well. You know that some people are actually touting that as a CBD or a cannabinoid, another cannabinoid, which, as I said earlier, really isn't. But some people are marketing it as such. However, Dragon's Blood was a product that we still had. We were using under the Finessium Health side for inflammation, for topical, for wounds, scars, healing areas, things like that. And also as well, it can be used very, very, very mildly to help with gastrointestinal ulcers. So looking into that, it also can help some people with Lyme disease. And of course, that was what piqued my interest back then, because I had been diagnosed in August 2017 with Lyme disease, finally, after suffering for a few years with ongoing pain and all sorts of arrhythmias and things. Anyway, but the Dragon's Blood just did not work for me. So I was like, all right, works for some people, doesn't work for me, but that's why everybody's different. So whenever I was researching the different substances and what could we put together that could actually come close to our CBD products, then we actually put together, I put about half a dozen different things together and tried and tested them, and through kinesiology testing, we actually found the strongest synergistic blend was our Dragon's Blood and the copaiba, along with the hemp seed oil with all of its lovely omega oils in it and its GLAs. Fatty acids, all the rest of it, and a little bit of the colloidal silver is in there, literally more for just act as a preservative and a cleanser than anything else. But it's the copaiba and Dragon's Blood that work together. Now, to give you an idea, let's go back to turmeric, was 159,277 on the ORAC scale. Dragon's Blood, you ready for this, is 2,897,110. So it actually has one of the highest ORAC values of any substance on the planet. Now, actually, funnily enough, whenever you Google some stuff as well, there's another one that touts itself as the most powerful one. When I looked into that, and it sounds like a way more scientific or technical name, but whenever I looked into that, the actual ORAC value of that is only 68,500. So it's actually pretty useless. Your turmeric is actually more important than that. So this is the whole thing with marketing, folks. I mean, if people have got the money behind them to do this fancy marketing, then that's basically what's going to get seen out there. And you know that, and you should know that, and you have to wake up to that, amongst other things right now. But be careful what people are asking you to spend money on. Get some proof of the pudding. And that's where we have proof of the pudding with the smart oil. As I say, I'm going to post a before and after of Murphy's under area, his sheath, and the difference that the smart oil helped with that. Also as well, the vet, when she was doing her pre-exam last week to do his tooth, she did all the checks and says, oh, everything's good. And I says, how are his lungs? And she goes, well, why? And I says, well, he had heaves. And she goes, there's not a rattle in his lungs. So it's got rid of his heaves. It's actually helped. So a lot of, if you actually look at Dr. Linus Pauling, who was a very, very well-known scientist way back when, basically, as he said, pretty much every disease can be linked back to a nutritional deficiency. And a lot of that as well can be caused by inflammation too. So if we're eating the wrong foods or just living the wrong way, I mean, I'm a good example of too many chips at night. Inflammation, that's what makes all this extra puffiness happen. I'm well aware of that. That's my own bloody fault. But whenever you're looking at your animals and you always want to do the best for them, because they would want to do the best for them if they were actually in the wild and living a more natural life than what we put them under. But the smart oil has got rid of his COPD, his heaves. It has also shrunk and got rid of the inflammation. He used to stock up in his back legs quite a bit. He's been sound now for over a year, where he used to go out with one of his back feet. And I will also give some credit to a wonderful natural hoof care specialist as well, who does their trimming every 8 weeks or so. She's been phenomenal with them, and helped to realign the whole structure so that it actually moves better in the way it should be. So a few other things that have come through from the smart oil recently. I had a call from a gentleman in New Brunswick last Friday evening, telling me about his cousin's dog who he had seen a few weeks ago and thought he had got a new dog. Basically, his cousin had told him 4 days was all it took for this dog to start running around, whereas he had been crippled with arthritis and all the rest of it. We're getting stories like this all the time. And as I say, the biggest thing that's giving me more and more bolstering, if you like, is the proof. The proof that's coming back from the animals, not from people going, oh, that's brilliant, but the animals who can't just make you believe some story. So that's why we do what we do in our smart oil. We have the large, and the large, I'll explain this one quickly for you as well, because there's an awful lot of, not an awful lot, but some confusion out there. We have it in a small, which goes up to 25 pounds. Then a 25 to, what's this one? 26 to 75 pounds is the medium, and 75 pounds plus is the large. Now, obviously, it's just a different, well, not obviously, but it is. It's just different concentration in this. So we have it more balanced, if you like, so that it is more acceptable, so that you don't have to try and do a quarter of a drop. I mean, come on, really. But this is very, very potent. And the reason that it actually works in such small dosage is because we're not putting tons of fillers in it. We're not putting low-grade ingredients in it. We're going for the best, the most cleanest certified organic if we can find them, all GMO free, and basically, yeah, clean products, and ones that we make ourselves, i.e. the colloidal silver. So whenever we do this blend, it has a synergistic boost. And if I test either the Copaiba or the dragon's blood on its own, it's okay. Whenever I compare it to the smart oil in its full concentration, which would be the large, I'm actually getting that is 17 times more powerful or more potent with the blend of the two together than any of the individual ingredients on their own. So it's knowing how to get a balance right, and that's what I did. A few people that have met me have said that it's beyond amazing how I even come up with this, and I tend to agree. But it's believing in the proof of basic health kinesiology, and it's actually testing that theory and showing the proof of it with the amount of animals that is helping on a daily basis now. With the balances, on this it says weight, it goes by weight, but what the actual reality is based on brain size. But a lot of people wouldn't get that. It's much easier to go, well, my dog's about 15 pounds. Oh, there you go. You're fine. Away on. Well, I've got a Great Dane and he's 110. Oh, there's yours. Yours is the large breed. It is a completely natural substance as well, and because of that as well, it does not have any contraindications with any other medications they're on. We have tested this against the likes of prednisone, Metacam, Apoquel, a lot of different veterinary meds. Of course, if you have any questions at all, you should always check with your vet. But it's like saying, okay, well, is this safe to use with something? If your horse can eat a carrot, it can eat this. These are natural substances that come from plants. Hemp seed oil, copaiba is a tree sap. Dragon's blood is a tree sap as well. Let's just touch a slight little bit on dragon's blood, because there is a few people who have said dragon's blood's now a threatened species. Only if it's coming from Israel. We looked into that one as well. Our source is perfectly fine. There's lots of it. Ours comes from South America, as a lot of them do. It's the Croton leschleri plant, which is completely and utterly not on the endangered species list. The one that you're looking at for the actual other dragon's blood, there's a lot that actually tout themselves as dragon's blood, but the one that's in the endangered is from Israel. So if your product is not coming from Israel, it's not endangered, you're not harming the planet. And we actually get ours from sustainable farming, and actually the dragon's blood or Croton leschleri tree grows at incredibly good rates, about a foot a year, up to 60 feet, and you can tap that like you tap your maple trees every year. So we're not harming the species with that, and for all that we actually use, a very, very tiny amount. But it's very potent, and that's what I say. That's why it's called smart, because it isn't in a small one. You don't need to be trying to get cupfuls into your animal. You can add it to the food. You can drop it right on the lip. You can drop it on the nose. You can actually use it topically as well. It absorbs really, really well. On heel bulbs on horses, on a leg that's lame, it will help to draw out inflammation. Naturally, not synthetically or in a way that's going to harm the animal, that it's going to do it too quickly. It's going to work with the system and help it to heal itself. So yeah, the brain size thing, if you think about, okay, or what, you might not know this, and that's fine, because a lot of people go, okay, well, I've got a big heavy horse, and I've got a Labrador. How can I just use the large one? Well, it's very easy, because the brain size is not a huge amount. Say this is the brain size of your lab, and this is the brain size of your heavy horse. There's not a huge amount of difference. So if this was using 3 drops, this would use 6 drops. It's about double that, right? It's that simple. And if you're looking at a cat being maybe a piece, the hole in the center of my fingers being the side of its brain, well, you're going to go for a small breed, and you're going to use maybe 1 to 2 drops. Anything that's not used in the system, I mean, there's no heavy metals, there's no toxicity in this. It's going to sit and build up in the system and cause any irreparable damage. It's not going to hurt the kidneys. It's not going to make the liver work harder. So you're absolutely fine with doing what you need to do with this. Lots of my retailers send people to me all the time to ask questions. I usually get emails on a daily basis asking how much to use for this, that, or the other. So that's why I did a wee bit more on this, to explain it a bit more, bring it more up to date, tell you a little bit more of the good results that we're having. And the one more that I should mention, even though every time I go to mention it, then something happens and she has another one. But we've had success, and we're seeing success with using this to help manage and reduce seizures, which is huge. It was the one thing I left off our marketing at the beginning because we had no way of testing it, but now we do. We've had a few people testing it, from a Chihuahua to a goat and a couple of different ones in between. And we have had the goat, if anyone is watching that knows Rocking Horse Ranch that we support, Hazel the goat out there has been on it religiously now since I beat Dell up about using it. But she has been using it along with her vet medication, and she has been seeing much, much better results with that than she actually was even with CBD, when she was using CBD along with the vet meds. So Hazel, God love her, usually went into seizures every time there was a barometric change. So through the winter and through the spring, when the fluctuations were so all over the place, that was usually when Hazel would go into seizures. So we've been monitoring that all this year. So for the last 7 months, I think she's had maybe 3 where they haven't even lasted even more than a day. Whereas last year, before she was actually on it, she was getting seizures very regularly, and some to the point where she was almost gone for 5 to 7 days completely out of it, where Dale had to actually force feed her and push mush into her mouth so that the animal could actually eat. So it was a terrible state of affairs, but it's been lovely to hear that this has helped, and it's made my heart sing to know that I've actually created this and I am actually helping some animals, because that's all I want to do. So I think I've rambled enough on that one. I'm always here, guys. info@dogsofpride.com is the email for anything to do with that. You can also reach me on the Finessium Holistic Health or Finessium Health website, or wendy@finessiumhealth.com is the other side of things if you are wanting to book for remote testing, which we also do, to see if this would be suitable for your animal, if they're old, if they're arthritic, if they're having issues one way or another. Doesn't matter what animal it is. If it's a mammal, if it's a warm-blooded animal, then this is going to help, because all mammals have an endocannabinoid system. So this will help. And yeah, the nice thing as well with any of you using performance horses, that this will not show up in any drug tests, because it's not a drug. It's not a restricted substance. None of the ingredients are restricted. Unlike CBD, you cannot use CBD on a performance horse because it is a restricted drug. So there you go. There you have it. I think that's it for now. I could waffle on forever, as you know, but we'll say that's it for now, and cheerio.